Meghan Markle's bizarre new PR stunt has just exposed the misery of that performing monkey previously known as Prince Harry. This was staged, the World Series celebration, alongside a clearly unimpressed Harry watch. Sorry about that screaming hyena. As Nancy Sidley posted, whenever my team wins, I immediately stop celebrating so I can set up my phone and record my boyfriend's reaction, even if he couldn't care less, because that's totally normal behaviour. Forget being in the moment. This is why every marriage proposal should be filmed. Always stop what you're doing and hit record. But then she added more seriously, I don't think Harry is mentally there anymore. Watch this. This has gone viral, of course. Big US accounts like Cat Turd writing thus so cringe and fake. Megyn Kelly adding this is the same woman who made sure she was photographed at Uvalde and filmed her bare feet casually up in the car as she drove by Diana's death tunnel. There is literally nothing she won't exploit for self-promotional reasons. And the Royal Grift added, you know what's really sad about this? Game 7 of the World Series was in Toronto, which means that it started at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which would be 5 p.m. in California. This is the World Series final, and Harry is sitting without any guy friends or taking the occasion to bond with his son by watching the game together. Even if the excuse is that the kids are in bed, 8:45 p.m. would have been not so late for Archie. Instead, 2023 friend of the moment Kelly is the best these two could do for this pathetic staged watch party to put up on Instagram. Meghan is just spotlighting how shitty they are as parents. According to Taz, agreed. No wonder Harry looked completely disinterested. He'd already watched the game. I've never known anyone with such a thirst for constant attention as Em. Always performing for the camera. At least Kelly watched the game with her daughter. You'd expect Archie to be with Harry. And Brittany from the Royal News Network, who is with me here today, posted, this could be seriously used for torture. Oh my God, I agree, Brittany. Their screeching is just horrendous to listen to and so fake on multiple levels. For one, I don't think Meghan cares in the slightest about baseball. Two, Meghan stopped everything to set up the camera on the tripod to catch her fake reaction. So fake and obvious. Three, no kids again. Seems like everything is just a party for the adults. I imagine the nanny has the kids occupied elsewhere. Four, Harry was pulling for the LA Dodgers just a couple of days ago, and now he's allegedly a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays. So was he lying? Was he wearing a hat as part of a PR strategy? Nice of Meghan's friend Kelly to not know enough to avoid making him look like a fool. Meghan also looks horrifically uncaring about the recent stabbing in the UK. She should have specified what she was celebrating in her initial post. When you liberally use a royal title of a particular country, you're connected to that royal family and the country they represent, whether you want to or not. Drop the title, then you can do all the ear-shattering fake streaks you want. Finally, Harry looks like he would rather be anywhere in the planet than there. Brittany, wow, so much to get into here. But first, I'm really glad that you acknowledged what has gone on in the UK, because we've been completely rocked over the weekend by this absolute slaughter on a train, a mass stabbing of 10 innocents. A man has now been charged, but this was all developing at the time where Meghan posted that shrieking. And to me, it was so uncaring. And exactly as you say, look, I know she's in America. I know she doesn't give a damn about the United Kingdom. But remember, her children remain in the line of succession. Her husband remains in the line of succession. She uses the royal titles. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I found it particularly revolting on her part, actually. But can we just talk about the video itself? Because, Brittany, this was so clearly a setup. It was so clearly fake. These types of videos only work when there is a natural reaction. And there's just something that you can tell in your gut. Do you know what I mean? When it is something that's truly natural. Harry knew what was happening. Meghan knew what was happening. This was all planned. It was all for Instagram content. He clearly didn't want to go through with it. And I think she's been caught out yet again. Do you?
100%, Dan. And so sorry for the tragedy you guys experienced in the UK recently as well. But Megan doing this sort of PR stunt, I mean, especially without any context, it's just like, even I, as an American, I don't watch the World Series, not that into baseball. I had no clue what she was celebrating in her initial post. And you actually could watch the video and say Harry's non reaction could mean that he has been watching them do this 3 or 4 times now so they can get it right. And of course, he's like, oh gosh, whatever, guys. Like at this point, he doesn't care. He's so checked out. But it's so ridiculous. Why do they even care that much? I mean, I just really even doubt Meghan Markle is that excited about the LA Dodgers winning. I just found the whole thing to be just so incredibly bizarre, such an incredibly weird move. And Meghan is not known for having any connection to baseball until last week. So, as a content creator, as an influencer, Meghan really needs to figure out what the heck her brand is, because it's definitely not shrieking at the top of her lungs with her friends over the LA Dodgers winning. I would imagine they got a good deal on a pair of shoes or something. That's when they jump up and down like that.
But everything is stunted now. Even the trick-or-treating, the so-called family outing was stunted, wasn't it? Royal Thoughts posted desperately thirsty Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and little children plastered all over the internet again. Brittany, what did you make of this?
Thought this was very interesting, Dan, because I mean, obviously, we know a lot. They do set up their paparazzi strolls. But at the same time, we also have an element of here of where I feel like they're interacting a bit more naturally rather than the overly forced PDA they usually engage in most of the time. It seems like Harry's drinking while they're walking around going trick or treating with the kids. And Meghan looks upset about something. They're letting the kids go ahead of them. Where's the security? I thought they needed 24/7 security and they were wildly unsafe in the UK, and then their children are running like 20 plus feet ahead of them. So it's just sort of an interesting case, but Meghan likes to create paparazzi stroll situations, but I'm just interested to know whether or not she knew this was happening or not, because it sort of reveals, I think, the realities behind the scene of this is a couple that I think is mostly unhappy, and their happiness is just a facade in front of the cameras.
And it wasn't the only social media blunder that Meghan Markle suffered over the weekend, because, of course, she had to delete one post, Brittany, because it was timed so terribly to go up at the time. Sorry, it was an Instagram post, I believe, to go up at the time where all of the news about Prince Andrew was developing, where she was looking incredibly happy. But as according to Taz wrote, I wouldn't be too smug, love, because, of course, it's coming for them next,
Mhm.
Brittany. But again, like, this timing was just so off.
It really was. And of course, you can't really anticipate all the news, but I think it shows too that Harry and Meghan had no idea this was coming, that they were completely caught off guard by this move against Andrew as well. And so they didn't have, let's say, enough time, because maybe if they had better relations with Buckingham Palace, they maybe would have given them an hour or two warnings ahead of time. But right now they don't. So Meghan got caught flat footed again in this brand. But at the same time, obviously, there's a lot of news. She has to contact somebody, I'm sure, to stop the post. But I think it does reflect an organization in terms of as ever that's very, very poorly run by Meghan. It's a poorly run business. It's sort of a mess behind the scenes, a disaster. It doesn't know what its identity is. It's all over the place. Things aren't moving. And so it's not a surprise that something as simple as making sure, oh, big news broke and it's about Andrew, might as well take this Instagram post down now, that they didn't even think about it. They didn't even have somebody who was like on it immediately, goes again to show that there's a lot of disorganization behind the scenes of her
Oh,
company.
well, it's just a disaster, isn't it? Was never, as
Mhm.
Lady Colin Campbell puts it. But there was another newsletter, Brittany, that went out over the weekend. Seasonal sips to warm the spirit. And then we got the new video. And this is the video that she had been promising, of course, in that Fortune interview when she's reinventing the wheel. You know, we don't need to do a Netflix series, of course not, because I'm just going to do little short form content. And as Harry Meghan's spare put it, Meghan Markle draped in virginal white, as if trying to project an image of purity and innocence to the world, the picture of grace, virtue, and sincerity. Yet behind the carefully curated symbolism lies a very different reality. The angelic smile can't conceal the ambition, calculation, and drama that have followed her every move. This is all a performance, friends, a costume meant to disguise the chaos she so often leaves in her wake, proving that no amount of white fabric can wash away what's underneath the calculating evil wench that she is. And I did find that a very interesting take on the video, although I think probably what I found most funny, Brittany, is she's basically teaching us how to put a product in boiling water, and she thinks this is going to make her a lifestyle guru. Who knows? But anyway, watch the virginal white and watch the completely useless how-to guide here, and then I'll get your reaction.
Okay, so for holidays, I love having a really cozy, warm beverage that everyone can enjoy. And you could do teas, but you could also do a hot toddy or a spiced cider. I like to make a big pot for everyone. It's so easy. All you do, boil some water, enough for 8 servings, 10 servings. Once it's at a boil, turn it down, take the entire contents, and let it steep in the pot. Now, what happens when you do this? When people come into your house, they go, "It smells so good. What is that?" And you go, "Oh my gosh, let me offer you a drink." And then I would just add a couple details here to just embolden the flavor a bit. Honey adds a really special note. Cinnamon stick is so nice in there as well. You smell the cinnamon, you smell that lemongrass. You could also add a spirit of choice to make it a little bit more grown up, but just on its own, it's the most soothing, especially in cold weather.
I mean, Brittany, I'm going to say it again. This is basic bitch stuff. It's like it's like the equivalent of putting a tea bag in some boiling water. And then slopping some honey in, and she thinks that's some little twist.
She does. And what's really funny, Dan, is that it's a one serving packet, I guess. You pay $16 and you have to use the entire thing, I guess, to get the aroma out or whatever. And it's just so basic and boring and not interesting at all. And what I find actually really fascinating about this as well is the choice of the soft focus, like the really, really hard soft focus here and all the soft lighting and everything. She's not in her kitchen again, like she wasn't on the show, like her actual kitchen. And this is so overproduced. I would bet she had 10 people working on this stupid video. Oh my gosh, this is not where social media is. Celebrities who do these overproduced things don't even get a decent amount of traction on social media because it's all about authenticity. And there's nothing less authentic than probably having an entire film crew there watching her boil water. Like, I think most people find that ridiculous. Most people find the serving sizes abysmal. And she says that you have to add all these things to like increase the flavor. I'm just thinking, well, you might need to add those things to actually give it flavor because maybe it's just not that flavorful. So you have to add the honey, you have to add the lemongrass and the cinnamon to actually get some flavor out of this thing. But it's just another example of how Meghan doesn't understand new social media, cannot give you authenticity to save her life. And she's actually technically using the same soft focus tactic that she did in March of 2024 when she actually launched American Riviera Orchard. So it's like she's going back in times, forwards in times, like she's all over the place with this brand. And that since she's doing it as ever, we can just basically 100% know that there is going to be no more With Love Meghan except for the holiday special.
Brittany, why does she just hate saying Christmas so much? Like, is this an American thing? Like, am I missing something here? Is holidays, is that because you've got Thanksgiving and Christmas, whereas in the United Kingdom, we just celebrate Christmas? Because to me, it feels like she is desperately trying to avoid using the word Christmas almost at any cost. If the air gets harsher, the heating's on, and skin takes a beating. Dryness, fine lines, that loss of bounce So now I need to tell you about how I've been avoiding those issues through the incredible products of One Skin, the world's first skin longevity company. It's led by an all-female team of PhDs in skin regeneration and tissue engineering, and their standout technology is the OS1 peptide. Instead of just masking dryness, OS1 is designed to work at the cellular level, targeting senescent cells, the troublemakers behind wrinkles and reduced elasticity, so skin can behave more like its younger self. By addressing aging at the source, OS1 helps support a stronger moisture barrier, improves the look of firmness and bounce, and smooths rough, tired-looking texture. The result is skin that looks and feels more resilient, better hydrated, and visibly healthier, supported from the source rather than just the surface. The range is simple but powerful. The best sellers: OS1 Face, a moisturizer and longevity serum in one; OS1 Body for crepey, dry, or thinning skin, perfect when the seasons change; and OS1 Eye, their most concentrated formula for the delicate eye area. Every formula is dermatologist tested, safe for sensitive skin, NEA approved, backed by 5 published clinical studies, and trusted with over 10,000 5-star reviews. If you're ready to upgrade your routine for the colder months, start with Face and build from there. This season, don't just moisturize, support your skin at the cellular level with One Skin. And for a limited time, you can try One Skin with 15% off using code OUTSPOKEN at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with the code OUTSPOKEN. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. And please support our show and tell them it was via Dan Wootton Outspoken. Try One Skin today. But now, back to the show.
Great question, Dan. So I know at least in the States, there was sort of a mood towards towards saying just the holidays, to incorporate Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and to be more inclusive and everything.
So it's a woke
But there's
thing.
also, yeah, so it's a woke thing. There's definitely been a pushback from it for people who say, I'm going to say Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays. But I've noticed Harry and Meghan have definitely incorporated that into their, let's say, the card that they send out to people and those sorts of things. And for me, I don't understand if you celebrate Christmas, other people celebrate something else. They should be fine with you saying Merry Christmas or sharing Merry Christmas, because that is what you're celebrating. And so I think it's sort of ridiculous to go with the Happy Holidays nonsense.
Yeah, I hate it. I really hate it.
Mhm.
Okay. Brittany, let's get to the latest developments on Prince Andrew, or shall I say, the Andrew formerly known as Prince, now simply Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I think the most desperate briefing we got over the weekend was from Prince Harry and Prince Harry's team, who leaked breathlessly to the Sun on Sunday newspaper that he backed the King's decision to strip Andrew of his titles and boot him out of Windsor Lodge. This was the reporting, and it was really interesting. It was very clear that Matt Wilkinson, the royal editor, had got this officially, because there was no source quoting or anything like that, but it was written with total confidence. Prince Harry backs the King's decision to strip Andrew of his titles and boot him out of his royal lodge home. The Sun on Sunday understands. US-based Harry has been in contact with his dad and may have been in touch in recent days. He supports Charles ending Andrew's allowance, it is understood. Harry has made a point of keeping in close contact with the King since their short London meeting in September, and he remains close to Andrew's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie. Well, to me, I was a bit like, Brittany, this is nuts. Like, who gives a damn whether Harry backs this decision? But what he was very clearly trying to do was align himself to the royal family, to his father, because I believe he's terrified that this is going to happen to him next.
Oh, he's 100% terrified. I think both him and Meghan were a bit quaking in their boots over the weekend. That could even explain their little bit of a tense Halloween walk around, is because now they realize there is a risk there to them, that their titles may be stripped. Obviously, they haven't done the same things as Andrew, and Harry and Meghan's case is more complex, but I think it definitely deserves exploring what it means to be royal, how to deal with rogue royals. And Harry going, well, I back your move, Dad. I back your move. It's just an example of Harry trying to basically align himself with his dad, support his dad, what have you, so that he can prevent those sort of decisions from falling back on him. Because he's well aware, and Meghan's well aware, is they have nothing but their royal titles. Everything they have in their life is basically based around the royal titles and nothing else. And so if they can't keep those, what else are the two of them going to do? They don't really have anything. They don't have a good track record on Hollywood. Meghan basically just endlessly talks and gives very little results. And so you have a situation where Harry and Meghan are now trying to, I'm sure, figure out where things lie with them in terms of the monarchy. So it could even be a route for Harry to like, yeah, Pa, I agree. And then subtly trying to hint around as to, well, will this happen to me and my wife as well? I think it should, but that is going to be a process to go through, and we'll see where that ends up. Although I think if it's not Charles, it'll be William.
Yeah, indeed. There's also a lot of spin and counterspin going on in regards to William and Catherine's role in this. And it comes at the same time as the Daily Mail reveals this old footage of Prince William and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor now on his wedding day to Sarah Ferguson, which shows that at one time they did have a close relationship, which in some ways maybe makes what has happened sadder. But of course, I have reported for many weeks that, especially since this moment at the Duchess of Kent's funeral, things have been super tense between the heir to the throne and his uncle. And the Daily Mail did back up that reporting over the weekend, Brittany, with a front page headlined "William and Kate pushed for Andrew to be ousted." And Rebecca English, the newspaper's royal editor, reported the Prince and Princess of Wales made it clear that a clean break from Andrew was the only way the royal family can move forward. Before he was stripped of his royal titles, William and Kate backed the king, saying they also wanted him kicked out of Windsor. The king was gravely concerned that the future of the monarchy was at stake unless he added decisively to banish his beleaguered brother, the Daily Mail understands. Despite the united family front, however, Buckingham Palace had to walk a legal and constitutional tightrope to ensure moves to completely strip Andrew of his birthright titles and home did not backfire. Given the impact of the scandal, there were also serious fears about Andrew's mental health, which had to be balanced against the need to act ruthlessly. William, a long-term mental health campaigner, is understood to have been particularly worried about his uncle's well-being. Concerns were also raised privately by other family members, including Andrew's siblings, Prince Edward and Princess Anne. However, the king and his wife, Queen Camilla, who has long campaigned for those affected by domestic and sexual violence, was also determined to publicly show their support for victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. So what's actually going on here, Brittany, and I'm just going to be very transparent about it, is that William's team, William's crew are concerned that he's almost looking too ruthless. And as I have previously reported, there are fears about Andrew's mental health, and were anything to happen, he doesn't want to be blamed for that. But what I don't do is I don't just parrot palace talking points. You get that a lot from the Royal Rota, and I thought it was hilarious that Emily Maitlis of the fake news agents, now she's the woman who conducted that interview with Prince Andrew in the first place, just got one call, clearly from Kensington Palace, and dialed back on all of her reporting previously. Watch this.
Something, to be honest, that I had not properly understood, and I think many in the media had not properly understood, was that Prince William was not actually the one driving this. We'd all understood that the real sort of heft of this move came from Prince William. I was told last night that it is Prince William actually who's most concerned about the state of his uncle's mental health, something that he takes very seriously. His work, Kate's work, has been very close to the issues of mental health. And I was also told that there was a bit of discomfort, maybe that's too strong. There was a bit of nervousness from the siblings, from Prince Edward, from Princess Anne, who didn't want their eldest brother to go too hard on their other brother, Andrew. But it was the king himself who had nerves of steel. And again, contrary to what we read in the newspapers, I heard that originally there was extremely strong pushback from Andrew, who was trying to find every means and every reasons he could to resist this. And when I asked last night what brought Andrew around, I was told that the monarch had simply made him see the ultimate threat. In other words, and this is a phrase that was used to me, I don't think it's the words that the king used, you'll topple us all. In other words, Andrew did not want that on his shoulders. The idea was that the king had put to him something in the tenor of, would your mother really want to see you putting at risk the whole establishment?
Now, Brittany, that's what I call client journalism, right? She gets one call and she completely reverses what she had previously been reported. Now, again, I'm just telling the truth. That's all that I care about, right? The truth. That's what matters here. William was the driving force behind this. A fortnight ago, Buckingham Palace believed that it was completely fine for Andrew to release his own statement. Remember, the statement was in his words, saying that he would voluntarily give up the Duke of York title, and Buckingham Palace hoped and believed that would be enough. It obviously wasn't enough, and William made clear that it wasn't going to be enough. Now, is William concerned about Andrew's mental health? Without any doubt. Of course he is. Anyone would be concerned, wouldn't they? I'm concerned, actually. We do not want another suicide here, but I think, Brittany, there's just a lot of dishonest reporting going on by client journalists who are trying to say, you know, Charles had nerves of steel about this. The reality is, Brittany, he didn't. He bottled it in his first statement, maybe from a good place. You know, like, I'm not even judging what Charles did, actually, but I just think there's a lot of misreporting going on here.
And Dan, as well, you could also read into this a little bit of the tension between Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, because Buckingham Palace wants more of it to be seen as Charles's decisive move here rather than really William pushing it. And it's just, there's so many complications here because of the whole family dynamic. This is not like a company or even a political environment where somebody gets ousted. This is very much has family dynamics firmly involved here. And Charles did sort of tiptoe kind of this whole thing rather than being more decisive. I mean, Charles should have been more decisive from the beginning regarding Andrew, regarding Harry and Meghan as well. I feel like what we see a lot still from Buckingham Palace is a generally reactionary team. So that something comes out, then they react. When the pressure gets too big, then they react. I think they need basically a more proactive approach rather than just waiting for things to happen and then changing course. I think we see a bit of this with Andrew and with Harry and Meghan as well. And I think if Buckingham Palace was, I guess, a little bit more decisive about things, we might have sort of a better navigation path at this point. And, you know, some of it does definitely come from the top there when it comes to Charles. And William, I'm sure, was looking at this whole thing going, you know, depending on what happens to my father, it's like, and Andrew is here. Andrew is still every year, it just gets worse and worse with him in many ways. It's like you just have to basically sever all ties. That's the only way forwards. And it's sad that it got to that point, but those were Andrew's decisions. He had made a series of very poor decisions over the past 30 years, and this is a result. And sometimes that's life. There are consequences to actions. Andrew has suffered them, and they should be extended in some cases to other royal family members as well. It's the only way the institution will survive.
Yeah, indeed. Brittany, just a quick word about Fergie, because there's been briefing and counter briefing over the weekend about whether she is standing by her former husband, Andrew. The Times reported on Saturday that Andrew quit the fight after losing the loyalty of his ex-wife. But Fergie's team then hit back the next day and said, no, she's absolutely staying loyal. What do you make of the truth here?
I mean, it's sort of hard to, let's say, suss out at this point. I mean, obviously, they have been close, and I think that's something admirable that they've been able to be divorced and actually stay close for the sake of their daughters. But I understand why Fergie needs to keep some of her distance. And yet at the same time, she's completely wrapped up in this. So I think a lot of this is just simply self preservation. And I find that to be quite sad because it's like you guys have basically created this scandal together. And so they should basically stand together that way. Maybe they can support each other through it. But I would not be surprised also as well that given their history, Sarah is completely and utterly willing to feed Andrew to the wolves if it maybe saves her a little bit. I don't know if he's willing to totally do the same, but that's sort of how I read the situation.
Brittany, thank you so much. And of course, if you do want much, much more of late Queen Elizabeth II was disgusted by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in her dying days, including when it came to the question of money. So I'd love to have you over on Substack. Paid monthly and annual subscribers get first access to our Royal Uncancelled After Show Monday to Friday. You can get it first, you can get it live, you can get it on demand, however you want, with no advertising whatsoever.